Today we're going to be talking about Tim Ballard from O.U.R, Operation Underground Railroad. He's in a lot of hot water right now. There's a lot of news coverage about him, and I wanted to do a YouTube post that kind of compiles everything, all the points of view, all the allegations, and everything into one video. So in an hour's time, you can watch everything and you'll be up to date as of today. It is ongoing. It's constantly changing. There's new allegations, there's new charges, but as of today, I wanted you to be able to see everything that there is about Mr. Tim Ballard.
Good morning, everyone. We start with developing news regarding Operation Underground Railroad founder Tim Ballard and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
In a statement to Fox 13 News and Vice News, the church has denounced Tim Ballard's activities as morally unacceptable. In an online article posted this morning, Tim Ballard claimed, Vice News reports that Tim Ballard claimed that one of the top leaders of the church, President M. Russell Ballard of the Quorum of 12 Apostles, played a secret and central role in Operation Underground Railroad. Further, Vice News reports witnesses who spoke to federal and local investigators say Tim Ballard claimed O.U.R and his personal business ventures were backed by Elder Ballard as part of a larger mission to bring Americans to the LDS faith.
Today, in a rare statement, the church acknowledged to Fox 13 News that President Ballard and Tim Ballard, no relation, established a friendship a number of years ago built on a shared interest in looking after God's children. But the church says the relationship is in the past and President Ballard hasn't had any contact with Tim Ballard for many months now. The church also says, quote, once it became clear Tim Ballard had betrayed their friendship through the unauthorized use of President Ballard's name for Tim Ballard's personal advantage and activity regarded as morally unacceptable, President Ballard withdrew his association.
Tim Ballard left O.U.R 3 months ago and has been rumored to be considering a run for the U.S. Senate from Utah. The church said today it never endorsed, supported, or represented O.U.R, Tim Ballard, or any projects associated with them.
On another front, last night, Tim Ballard testified before the House Ways and Means Committee. He accused President Biden of being, quote, the trafficker in chief because of his administration's policies.
The government has lost track of 85,000 minors that crossed the border unaccompanied. These children are prime targets for traffickers for sex or labor. Tragically, as a result of this administration's current policies, DHS and HHS have unwittingly become a child trafficking delivery service. This must stop.
Fox 13 News has been trying to reach Tim Ballard for comment regarding the church's denouncement today. We have so far been unsuccessful. Ballard has been under investigation by the Davis County attorney for alleged communications fraud and witness tampering. That investigation is reported to be over.
These are some serious allegations that are coming about, and there's more than just Tim Ballard that's kind of in hot water over all these allegations. The other person is the Utah Attorney General, Mr. Sean Reyes. He has been a part of this Operation Underground Railroad, and the question is, what did he know and when did he know it?
Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes as a subject of a criminal fraud investigation because of his ties to a local nonprofit. We've been reporting on the case against Tim Ballard and the nonprofit he founded, Operation Underground Railroad, for the past 3 years. Since the beginning, we've also been asking Reyes about his involvement.
Sean, you've been, for nearly the past year, been a subject of criminal investigation.
Witnesses say the public has a right to know, and even though Reyes has almost never been shy about his connections with O.U.R, he has never been forthcoming about his ties to this case.
Al suelo todos, todos al suelo, al suelo.
These videos show Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes going undercover in Colombia, part of a mission with his close friend Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad. Together, they say they're committed to the fight against human trafficking.
And they were expecting to have sex with all these Americans.
Mucho más interesante, tal vez si supiera.
We actually had no idea he was the Attorney General. He just acted humble like everyone else.
In 2020, the Davis County Attorney's Office opened a criminal investigation into O.U.R. The FBI also joined in. And while most of the attention centered around Tim Ballard, we can now confirm Sean Reyes was also a subject, in part because of the way the AG's office handled both O.U.R. money and federal grant money.
Do you have any concern about the fundraising?
Reyes has spent years refusing to acknowledge the investigation, and O.U.R. spent years telling people there was no investigation. This clip is from 2021 at a press conference where the Attorney General thought he would only be asked questions about an unrelated settlement.
Sean, you've been, for nearly the past year, been a subject of criminal investigation because of your involvement with Operation Underground Railroad. Why have you not addressed this?
Not aware of any criminal investigations, and not talking about hypothetical investigations here at this time.
We're talking about an investigation with the Davis County Attorney's Office, Sean.
Yep, and I'm unaware of any investigation into myself, which is your question. Unaware of anything. And
as a member of the Attorney General's office that oversees the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, and as a member of Operation Underground Railroad, do you feel that O.U.R. is taking credit inappropriately for ICAC cases?
Yet answering questions about, is that a question? I didn't hear anything about the settlement. Settlement? You have a question about the settlement?
You heard my question.
Okay, great. Questions about the settlement, that's what we're here for?
Do you think he has a duty to address this investigation?
Yeah, he does. That's one of his responsibilities, is to look into charities that might possibly be fraudulent. And the fact that he's a part of them makes it even worse.
Jenica Smith was interviewed as part of the criminal investigation because of her personal interactions with O.U.R. members. At the time, she said she had no idea investigators documented O.U.R. spending thousands of dollars on a psychic who claimed to be able to speak to the Mormon prophet Nephi for information on where to find trafficked children. Reyes now says he was aware of the psychic.
I feel like it would protect a lot of people who are donating money to know that. I think it's pretty disgraceful that he's used his position to promote this charity group that seems like he should be more investigating than being a part of.
Records show Reyes was not allowed to investigate O.U.R. or discuss the case with potential witnesses. He signed conflict of interest paperwork because of his close friendship with Tim Ballard.
I mean, me and Sean are like this. We're going to Mexico next week. Very friendly with him. He just spoke at a couple events recently, didn't he?
Jenica said she didn't want to go into too much detail about what she told investigators because she doesn't want to compromise the case. She and her husband both say they would be willing to testify at trial if the case were to ever get that far.
I could see that it wasn't this noble operation, that there was a lot of things that were very questionable.
I left optimistic. They seemed fairly confident in their wherever they were headed, which they didn't talk about, but I left with hope that some truth would be exposed.
Last week, we uploaded 75 pages from the Utah Attorney General's office related to this criminal investigation. And in those documents, prosecutors repeatedly asked the AG's office to open up their books to show how the AG's office spent federal money and O.U.R. money. If you'd like to read those documents, they are on our website, fox13now.com.
The next thing that I want to talk about is the fact that Tim Ballard started lashing out because of these charges. Now, I'm sure that any one of us, if we were charged wrongfully, we would be lashing out. I think either way, if you did it or if you didn't, you're going to not be happy about allegations coming against you. So this is where we have to try to decipher, and ultimately the court will make a decision. But as a community, let's see what we can figure out based on what we see and what we hear and what we know currently. I think it's interesting that Tim Ballard was really good friends with Glenn Beck, and now he's feeling duped. There is like a big question of whether or not Glenn Beck still supports him.
Says to allies of Operation Underground Railroad founder Tim Ballard now says that he feels duped and betrayed by his friend.
News specialist Lindsay Ahrens has the latest developments. Lindsay?
Conservative radio host Glenn Beck has long backed O.U.R. and Ballard. He took to his show Wednesday, saying his media company has interviewed 5 women who claim to be victims of sexual misconduct by Ballard. Beck says his media company was set to publish an investigative piece before the women's attorney shut it down.
I have read the quotes and listened to the tape of the interviews, and I will tell you, I believe one side, but I could be wrong.
KSL has confirmed that more than 5 women are working with an attorney to report the sexual misconduct allegations, which include taking showers or sharing a bed with Ballard under the guise of playing his wife for undercover missions. We do not know if those women are the same women Beck spoke with. Now, Beck did not specifically say which side he believed, but he also called the misconduct allegations, quote, ugly. Beck also says he still considers Ballard a friend, but a friend who is, quote, gravely misguided and needs to change his ways. Ballard has explained the couple's ruse as a tool to fool child sex traffickers. Back to you.
The next thing that I want to talk about is what Tim Ballard called a couple's ruse. And this is really under fire because these 5 women that are bringing out allegations of abuse against Tim Ballard, they said that the grooming process and the whole issues came because of this couple's ruse that Tim Ballard used in his going to save the children.
An undercover tactic that we use that involves female operators. I don't like to give away tactics because by doing that it puts people at risk and maybe we rescue less kids, but based on the allegations that are flying around and the questions being asked, we've decided that it's better to tell you these tactics so that we can preserve the vehicle that continues to rescue children. And so I'm going to tell you, and while I do so, I'm going to pay homage, respect, love, and gratitude for these female operators who serve such an important role, maybe the most important role in rescue operations. You need to understand that children don't just fall out of the sky. They don't fall into your desk. It's a very proactive work, and it's dirty, and it's ugly, and nothing about it could possibly relate to the world that the rest of us live in. Going undercover to find children is wading through a sewer. These children are found in places like strip clubs, brothels, dirty spas, places where high-end escorts are controlling the situations, traffickers. So if I am a man or one of my operators walks into one of these places and is approached by a trafficker trying to put a child to service on that person, or a sex worker, and that man, now you think about this, and that man, that operator doesn't partake of what's being offered, they lose credibility, they're kicked out of the place, and no one's going to get rescued. And so we came up with a concept that we call the couple's ruse, or the couple's tactic, where you go in together, pretending to be a husband or wife or boyfriend, girlfriend. Now you go in and one of you could pretend that, yes, I want to partake in this sex act with this woman or this child, but I can't because my girlfriend won't let me, but maybe we can do it later. So is that cool? Like, let's keep talking and she'll warm up to it eventually. That's one idea. There's 100 different ways to do it, but the bottom line is we block for each other. So the trafficker sees the situation, recognizes that I have every excuse not to partake, and he won't kick me out. And now I have the opportunity to build rapport, to get more intel, to dig deeper. It has worked. Hundreds, maybe thousands of children on my watch have been rescued using this amazing tactic. But it hurts. It beats you up. I just listened to my wife on Ron Arquette last night, and I cried as I listened to what she was saying, that it requires great healing. I've been doing this for almost 20 years. I'm grateful to tell you that we draw lines. We have rules, very specific rules, so we keep our morality and my faith, keep my covenants that I made with my wife. And I have. And so I want to thank all of you who have sacrificed, men and women who have sacrificed so much. I know what you're dealing with because I deal with it. And now's the time for me to heal. The sound of freedom has made it impossible for me to do operations anymore because it got too big, and it probably saved my life. As I've had these talks over the last several weeks with these amazing, heroic female operators, they want their voices heard. They want you to know what it's been like for them working with me and other operators.
I don't know, what do you think? He definitely talks a lot in circles. And I have to say that it does remind me of a few other people that we've seen that try to take the blame that people are throwing at them and then almost like a gaslighting, like throw out all this stuff, but remember all the good that I do, remember all the da-da-da-da-da-da. And then it's almost like a distraction of what is happening or what the charges are against him. I mean, the fact of the matter is, O.U.R. and Tim Ballard and possibly some others who are tied in with him are being sued.
Our top story tonight, new insight into the ongoing story involving Tim Ballard and the nonprofit he founded, Operation Underground Railroad.
We've learned both Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad and others are now being sued in a Utah court. It's a story Fox 13 News investigative team has been following for 3 years now. But it wasn't until about a month ago that new allegations of sexual harassment came out against Tim Ballard.
Then, just a few weeks ago, an attorney for the woman accusing Ballard spoke publicly, alleging sexual assault and fraud by the man who was supposed to be rescuing people from human trafficking. Tonight, Fox 13 News has its hands on that complaint, and we've been combing through its dozens of pages.
As Fox 13 News investigative reporter Nate Carlisle explains, the women suing Tim Ballard and O.U.R. contend those trips they took with him overseas were not what they appeared to be.
This is a photo of talk show host Glenn Beck with M. Russell Ballard of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and Operation Underground Railroad founder Tim Ballard. The two Ballards are not related, and Tim Ballard is the only man in this photograph named as a defendant in the lawsuit. Among the plaintiff's claims, Tim Ballard used the Mormon faith to manipulate people.
I'm the bad guy in the story. I'm the bad guy in the story that rescued over 7,000 women and children.
Tim Ballard has denied any wrongdoing. Neither he nor representatives of Operation Underground Railroad, or O.U.R., returned messages seeking comment Monday.
Al suelo todos, todos al suelo, al suelo.
The 5 women say they are Utah residents who worked with or for O.U.R. The rescue operations typically involve first-class travel for O.U.R. personnel, the lawsuit says, and in strip clubs and massage parlors, Ballard sometimes drank alcohol until he passed out.
Our involvement with Operation Underground Railroad was rooted in our commitment to fighting against human trafficking. But while engaging in that noble cause, we were subjected to sexual harassment, spiritual manipulation, grooming, and sexual misconduct.
The suit described the couple's ruse, where Ballard and a woman he selected would go undercover. The women say the ruse became a means for sexual grooming, that Ballard would share a bed or shower with them. The women described unwanted touching and coerced sex acts. One paragraph in the suit says, Ballard would insist that the women stay silent about their alleged sexual encounters with him because if they told anyone, it would put everyone's lives at risk. On the ops mission, it was necessary to save the trafficked children, and because he was blessed by President Ballard to be future president of the United States and then the prophet of the Mormon Church.
The behavior of Tim Ballard crossed the line, and these women cannot remain silent.
The plaintiffs say O.U.R. and its board learned of Ballard's behavior, but it stayed silent in order to make money earlier this year from the film The Sound of Freedom, which dramatizes Ballard and the rescue missions. The 5 plaintiffs are asking for damages to be proven at trial. Their attorneys are planning a news conference for Wednesday. In the studio, Nate Carlisle, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The plot thickens, and every day there's another little piece to this puzzle as it's starting to come together, and we're starting to understand what it is that these 5 women are charging. He, of course, started a new organization since he was kicked out of the other one because of the charges against him. And he's still trying to become this big person that everyone listens to and respects. But the question is, does he deserve the respect that he so desires?
Former CEO of a prominent anti-child sex trafficking organization is responding to reported sexual misconduct allegations from employees. Earlier this year, Tim Ballard left the organization Operation Underground Railroad, as seen in the hit summer movie Sound of Freedom. Now, according to Vice, he departed following a sexual misconduct investigation involving multiple women working with the organization. Now, today, he released a statement through his new anti-trafficking organization called the Spear Fund, saying in part, quote, "The latest tabloid-driven sexual allegations are false. They are baseless inventions designed to destroy me and the movement we've built to end the trafficking and exploitation of vulnerable children." He went on to say, giving our meticulous attention to this issue, any suggestion of inappropriate sexual contact is categorically false. Now, this is an ongoing story. We'll keep you updated both on air and online at abc4.com.
The other thing that Tim Ballard is known for, based on the videos that we're seeing, he definitely goes on rants. If he feels that he is wronged in any way, people have to pay the price. And his rants can get huge. I wanted to show them in their entirety so that you, the viewer, can see it as it is and make a determination for yourself what you think. I think it's interesting that one thing that he does is he will bring out the type of things that he believes he's good at, or that's good things that he's done, and he tries to draw other people in, because so-and-so said, or so-and-so, and he tries to bring them in to help make himself look bigger and more legitimate.
Leo, how close am I to President Emerson Ballard?
Very close.
I didn't stage this. How do you know this?
I know this because a few years ago, Tim brought President Ballard here. I gave him this tour. I gave him a tour of a walking tour at 90 years old. I offered him a wheelchair. He said to me, "You take the wheelchair, I'm walking." One of the most calming people I've ever known.
Thank you for filming. You should all film whatever you can right now. President Ballard is like a grandfather to me. He came to me in, 2012, 2011. And he told me that he appreciates all the things I'm doing and he wants to help me do it. Never in my life, never have I used his name to raise money, to make some business deal. What business deal? I don't have business. It's never happened. But all the press in Utah is claiming that some church representative is saying that I can't get confirmation whether it's true or not true, if it was authorized or not. I don't know. So this is breaking up my family like you can't believe. My children are being harassed right now because everybody believes that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that I've defended for how many years? I've written how many books? Made how much money for Deseret book on my hypothesis books? That's books. And nobody can tell me. Guess what? Do you think I called my stake president? I said, "Do you know about this?" No idea. I don't believe the church did this. I truly don't. Me either. Can you imagine that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints would publicly condemn one of its members?
No.
Without talking to the bishop, the stake president? My stake president had no idea.
No.
Is that possible? I have never used Elder Ballard's name, ever. I've never traded on his name to ask for anything. I've never had any business dealings with him. He's like a grandfather to me, and Leo can testify. He's a grandfather. He asked me to take him on this tour. President M. Russell Ballard asked me to take him on this tour. I didn't. It wasn't my idea. You were here, Coop.
I was here.
What? Tell me what you experienced. By the way, if anybody wants to share this with any news outlet, do it. Share it. Something evil is going on. I don't know who's behind it yet.
He loved the tour.
Explain to this group my relationship with President Ballard.
He loved the concept of the American Covenant. He loved this tour. He encouraged you to do it. He thought it was something good. I mean, I think they encourage church members to do good things of their own accord, and he encouraged you to do this. He thought it was.
Blaine, who set you apart? Who set you apart?
And Russell Ballard.
Where did he do it?
At the Joseph Glenn Smith House.
And what did he set you apart to do?
Be a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ.
President Ballard sent, he invited my son up to, this is the place. You realize you're participating in history right now? I want you to understand that. Three days before that horrible story launched, it was leaked to the press that I was going to run for U.S. Senate. Do you think that's a coincidence? 3 days later, you know Vice magazine? Vice? Do you think the church would make a statement to Vice? I can't imagine. Vice magazine has...
Okay, I think it's interesting that one of the things that Tim Ballard would say to the women that were in his couples ruse, he would say things like, is there anything you wouldn't do to protect a child? Again, this is just, it's like it's grooming on the one hand, and also justification for bad behavior, allegedly.
According to the charging documents, through these couples ruses, both in the office and in the field, this is where the trouble began and happened for Tim Ballard.
Okay, now that we have these other pieces, I want to talk about Reyes again, because he's coming under fire again. Because even though now this has been going on for 3 weeks, and he's still trying to distance himself and to claim that he doesn't know about allegations or whatever. It's an interesting thing. He definitely tries to dodge the questions, which all politicians tend to do this, but I think it's an interesting one. And I also think it's interesting to watch the body language of others who are standing around him and how they are trying to keep poker faces. They're not with him, they're not against him, they're poker faced until they know more about this. But let's see it.
Specifically said that you going on those ops with him gave him cover. Gave him cover.
Daniel, we'd like to keep this to the TikTok topic if you...
Well, this is a credible and relevant question. I want to give you a chance to respond.
2 News pushing for answers from Utah's Attorney General about his relationship with Operation Underground Railroad's founder, Tim Ballard.
Ballard is being sued now by 5 women who say he used anti-trafficking missions to sexually groom and abuse them.
And the lawsuit also mentions Sean Reyes, Utah's top law enforcement officer, and alleges he used his office to prop up Ballard's bad behavior.
Daniel Woodruff live at the Capitol tonight. And Daniel, when you asked about this today, things got a little heated there.
Yeah, they did, Heidi and Mark, and the Attorney General ended up responding to my questions, but his spokesperson standing off to the side of him seemed determined not to let me get there.
Attorney General Reyes, I wanted to give you a chance to respond.
Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes is mentioned in a lawsuit against Operation Underground Railroad founder Tim Ballard. 5 women say Ballard sexually harassed and assaulted them on anti-trafficking missions. They also say Reyes joined Ballard on one of those missions, quote, giving Ballard the cover of the top law enforcement officer in the state of Utah to carry out his purposes.
They specifically said that you going on those ops with him gave him cover, excuse me, Richard.
As I ask Reyes about this at a news conference, I'm stopped by his spokesperson, Richard Pyatt, who repeatedly tries to talk over me.
I want to give you a chance to respond.
Let me just say this. I'm not aware of being named in any complaint.
The lawsuit also claims Reyes supported Ballard even while consumer complaints and criminal investigations were pouring into his office regarding the improprieties of O.U.R. and Ballard.
But did your office receive complaints about Tim Ballard's conduct? Did your office receive complaints about Tim Ballard's conduct?
Any more questions on TikTok?
What did you know about the couple's...
We're not aware of any complaints that our office received.
Reyes then says he'll release a statement sometime later and acknowledges this.
I think they're fair questions. These allegations, which I believe are serious and ought to be taken seriously, I hope they don't in any way diminish the resolve that we have as a community, as a state, definitely in my office, to continue to attack the issue of human trafficking.
Now, you saw there Governor Spencer Cox stood next to Reyes during this questioning. Afterwards, I spoke with the governor briefly. He told reporters that until he knows exactly what the AG's office knew regarding these allegations, that he can't really comment. Now, if you'd like to watch the full exchange between me, Reyes, and his spokesperson from today, I've posted the entire clip on our KUTV 2 News YouTube page. Live at the Capitol, Daniel Woodruff, KUTV 2 News.
Daniel, thank you. Just about 30 minutes ago, the Spear Fund, also named in the lawsuit filed yesterday, released a statement from its attorney. It says, in part, the Spear Fund did not exist during the time of the alleged conduct and had nothing to do with it, and that Ballard vehemently denies those allegations brought by these unnamed women. He looks forward to vindicating his name in the courts where evidence and not unsubstantiated accusations in the media decide the outcome.
A number of questions. I think our office is going to issue a statement to try to address other questions. We've answered many from the media already. The statement could come today, tomorrow, but we'll address a number of issues that are still being asked about that. One thing I do want to say, because I think they're fair questions, is these allegations, which I believe are serious and ought to be taken seriously, I hope they don't in any way diminish the resolve that we have as a community, as a state, definitely in my office, to continue to attack the issue of human trafficking. Hope it doesn't diminish the urgency that many of us feel to combat what I think is a very real crime that affects real people in the state of Utah. It is a crime that preys on the most vulnerable amongst us, and again, going back to the most vulnerable, I think our children in the state of Utah are most vulnerable. It's why we filed our lawsuit against TikTok. And if there are any more questions about TikTok, I'm happy to field them.
What did you know about the couple's ruse though in 2014?
We can ask if there are any more questions about TikTok today. Is there any more questions about TikTok, anyone?
What did you know about the couple's ruse then?
Do we have any more questions about TikTok? Yes.
Officially, the lawsuit against Tim Ballard and others is going to tell a lot. Like, things are starting to unfold and unravel.
And breaking at 10, the founder of Operation Underground Railroad out with a new statement tonight after he received a rare public rebuke from his own faith.
It was released about an hour ago. Jamie McGriff's on the live desk with that statement. Jamie.
Okay, so Tim Ballard is pushing back against the statement that was issued late last week by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The church rebuked Ballard for using the name of a high-ranking church leader to further his, quote, morally unacceptable conduct. Tonight, Ballard says that he's a faithful member in good standing. He also questioned whether the church statement was even real, even though the church itself released the statement to 2 News and other media outlets. Tonight, Ballard claimed that evil people are working to oppose his anti-trafficking work, but he said he will keep moving forward. Read his full statement and the latest on this developing story at KUTV.com.
I think it's interesting that Tim Ballard has been a speaker at the Preparing a People conferences, the same conferences that Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow were at. And apparently, even Jody Hildebrandt. Now, if you follow true crime, you probably know who all these people are. She was also a speaker. And they all seem to be in this same kind of family of, oh, they claim to be members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and yet they teach their own doctrine. And they have these extreme thoughts and religious beliefs, and they're trying to get the core, it looks to me like they're trying to get the core of the church to follow them and act like they're along with that, and yet they have these extreme ideas, and it's very cult-like in that it's about them, and they claim to have, special knowledge from beyond the veil or from other, people that have died or whatever. Like, it's all the same rhetoric. Tim Ballard used a psychic to communicate with an ancient prophet from the Book of Mormon named Nephi, allegedly, who helped him find the missing children. Does this sound familiar? Remember the other Preparing a People person, Chad Daybell, who's in jail right now awaiting his trial? He also claimed to receive revelations. His were because he could see through the veil to the other side, and he claims he was getting revelation from another Book of Mormon ancient prophet, but he got his revelation, allegedly, from Moroni. Now, their membership in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a private affair. The church doesn't just come out necessarily, not very often do they come out and just say, no, we've excommunicated that person. The people will, a lot of times, who are in the news, will come out and say, I can't believe I got excommunicated. And they will bring it up. But the church doesn't usually. It's very rare. So we have to try to read between the lines to see, have they lost their membership in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? And in the case of Ruby Franke, Jody Hildebrandt, Tim Ballard, Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow, all of these people, we can't, it's not like you can just go look on a website and find out, have they been excommunicated or whatever you call it, no longer members of that congregation, of that church. And apparently it has come out by some sources that are not my own that Tim Ballard has in fact been let go, excommunicated. He is no longer a member of the church. Dr. John Delhi at Mormon Stories has reported that he has multiple credible sources who have said that Tim Ballard was in fact excommunicated on the 25th of September. As far as the doctrine goes, you do these types of things, you can no longer be a member of the church. So I think it goes without saying, but you never know. I think it's interesting that I follow Mike King from Profiling Evil. I don't know if you've watched his channel, but he's really good, and he does profiling and whatever for the FBI. But one thing that he has said, and I've heard it over and over again over the years, that whenever there is any religion in the world and there's a large population of people in a certain religion, there's a lot of times there's evil people in that religion. And it doesn't mean the religion itself is bad or corrupt, but these evil people that are hiding out as wolves in sheep's clothing at their congregations, wherever they may be in the world. And ultimately, they can hide for a while until they can't. Okay, now let's talk about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They've obviously put a lot of statements out there. They're distancing themselves from him. I think it's interesting that on the church's website, a lot of times they'll have links to good causes or things not necessarily in the church, but good report, right? So it might be within their link that's called Just Serve, where you can find service opportunities. And it might be with other religious organizations, it might be with the homeless shelter, it might be, it can be a lot of things. And they've always, had links to other things that are good. But if they find out that those things are not good, they will take them off their link.
Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has now removed articles promoting Tim Ballard and the nonprofit he founded, Operation Underground Railroad. The articles were removed on the same day the church released a statement citing betrayal and condemning Ballard for morally unacceptable behavior. The statement was in response to documents obtained by Vice News detailing a criminal investigation into Ballard, in which he reportedly called himself the Mormon Messiah and spoke with a psychic to communicate with the prophet Nephi for intel on how to rescue children. Yesterday, Ballard said he does not believe the church truly condemned him, questioning whether the church's statement was indeed legitimate. Before it was taken down, one of the church articles linked to the nonprofit's website and included quotes from Ballard about doing the Lord's work. The church's statement says it has never endorsed, supported, or represented O.U.R, Tim Ballard, or any projects associated with them.
Next, I want to talk to Janelle Murphy, and she is someone who has an insight on the preparing of people. She has gone to the conferences, and she has actually heard Tim Ballard speak. So, Janelle, thank you so much for stopping by. And what can you say about Tim Ballard? What do you know?
I don't know a whole lot, but I do know about the impression that I had with him because he used to speak at the Book of Mormon Expo. And the first time I heard him was quite a few years ago, and this was before the movie had come out. This was actually when he was there announcing that he was going to have a movie made about him, and that he had asked Jim Caviezel to play that role, and everybody was happy and everybody was, clapping and cheering. And it's such a great thing that he was doing at the time. And to hear that, and I think it excited a lot of people that he was going to do that and that he was doing something good in people's eyes. But I had just felt like when I was sitting there listening to it, I thought it was a good thing. But again, just like the Chad Daybell thing, it just didn't feel right. Something didn't feel right. And after he had announced that, just like at a lot of these conferences, when people get off the stage, then you've got people that will go and ask them questions, and gather around them, and they have that attention of everyone. And I just didn't feel like going and being in the crowd and being there. It just felt very different. It feels like to me that there's a lot of these people that are in the public eye for self-grandizement, and that they like to bring attention to themselves. So that's kind of the impression that I got at the time.
So for those that don't know, Janelle and I did a 2-part episode about Chad Daybell. If you want to go and see that, I'll put the link up here, one of the places. But she definitely has some inside scoop. So my last question, I guess, is when you say it didn't feel right, meaning that his organization didn't feel right, or you were kind of getting a bad sense about him as a person?
I think it was a bad sense. As a person, I feel like a lot of personalities who go out and promote themselves and have to talk highly about themselves and have to bring attention to themselves, like I had said, that I feel that's the kind that you want to be wary of, because I think you can really feel a person and feel if they're genuine or not, or really feel if they are genuine in what they're doing, what they're saying, or if they are putting on, I guess you could say, a good show. And I think a lot of people bought into that.
Have you followed all the news that's out there about him?
Yeah, I have.
And are you surprised?
I'm not. I think what I've noticed with a lot of people is that they gain popularity and then they get that attention from others. And just like with Chad and Lori, they always feel like there's something bigger that they need to do. And then when they feel like they are important and there's something bigger they need to do, then, and people, they get the attention of people and support from them. They may be doing a good thing, but I think sometimes their ego gets in the way, and then they end up rationalizing the things that they're doing, that when you look inside yourself and you have values and morals, and you are going against your values and morals, even in the name of a good cause, it's always important to go with your values and morals. And in my opinion, to do that, because I think this is the downfall of many. They've gotten popular, they have self-grandizement, and then they rationalize things, and then it ends up being a great fall.
New developments in the criminal allegations against Operation Underground Railroad founder Tim Ballard. Late this afternoon, a lawsuit was filed against Ballard, O.U.R, and members of the O.U.R board.
News specialist Shara Park is digging into the lawsuit. She now joins us live in the newsroom to break this all down.
Yeah, Mike and Ashley, this 30-page lawsuit was filed on behalf of 5 women who claim Ballard used his position of trust with O.U.R to commit fraud and to intimidate and coerce women into having sexual contact with him in the name of saving trafficked children. Now, this lawsuit alleges many things. For example, that Ballard misused O.U.R funds for his own personal gain. But at the heart of this lawsuit, it focuses on the claims that Ballard abused the couples ruse, an undercover tactic he's publicly admitted to using for undercover operations. Now, this lawsuit claims Ballard asked the women to practice the couples ruse long before missions ever took place, sometimes at strip clubs in the Salt Lake Valley. Now, it alleges that Ballard would pay for and receive lap dances, drinks, and take pills, all on O.U.R.'s dime with donor money. The lawsuit claims through these couple ruses, both in the office and in the field, Ballard eventually engaged in coerced sexual contact with several women and propositioned others. It also claims that Ballard warned the women not to question the tactics or their lives would be in danger. It states Ballard would ask each woman, "Is there anything you wouldn't do to save a child?" Now, this lawsuit claims that O.U.R. management adopted the couples ruse as standard policy and gave Ballard free rein to operate how he wanted to. It also claims that Ballard's friendship with the Attorney General Sean Reyes gave him cover to operate in this way, and that complaints about O.U.R. to the AG's office were ignored. KSL has reached out to O.U.R. and the AG's office for comment on this lawsuit. When we hear back, we'll update you. Mike and Ashley, this lawsuit is seeking financial damages to be awarded in an amount that will be proved at trial.
Yeah, the allegations are disturbing. We'll see how things play out as the court process proceeds here. All right. Appreciate that, Shara. Thank you.
It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Now, of course, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Lori Vallow has been proven guilty. So we don't even have to say anymore allegedly or in case she is, like, no, she's guilty. She's guilty. And so those other people that I talk about, Chad Daybell, like Tim Ballard, it is not proven that he is guilty yet, but there are a lot of allegations. I'd love to know your thoughts. Do you think, after watching all of this, do you think it is a witch hunt and Tim Ballard is the innocent in this? Or do you think that he has a day of reckoning coming? I know there's other options in between there, but those are the 2 options that I'm going with today.
For the attorneys representing 5 women who are suing Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad say they've filed another lawsuit. ABC4's Jonathan May joins us live in Salt Lake City with the very latest. Jonathan?
Emily, Courtney, the second lawsuit's allegations are similar to the one filed by the 5 women earlier this week. The first case filed by the 5 women alleged that Ballard's actions resulted in the breakup and damages of at least 2 marriages. Attorneys add that the second lawsuit involves one of the couples mentioned in these allegations. Lawyers for both the women and the couple have stated that the parties are remaining anonymous at this time, but they will most likely eventually make their identities known.
Do you feel it is important to file the lawsuit and show that there are more people willing to stand up against the behavior of Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad?
The Ballard family and the Spear Fund issued a statement earlier today saying, "We regret that the 5 women who have come forward, still without names and faces, are caught in the middle of this difficult struggle." For more details, head to our website, abc4.com. Reporting live in Salt Lake City, Jonathan May, ABC4 News.
Just based on what we know so far, what is your best guess? Do you think Tim Ballard has a day of reckoning coming? Or do you think Tim Ballard is a victim of a witch hunt and he's the innocent in all this?
Developing news tonight, Operation Underground Railroad founder Tim Ballard is now facing another lawsuit.
The legal team representing 5 women whose case was filed early this week regarding sexual misconduct claims against Ballard filed a second suit on behalf of a couple today. That legal team is also firing back at claims from the Utah Attorney General's office.
The court filing from Monday does not list Attorney General Sean Reyes as a defendant, but it implicates Reyes and his office. Ariel Harrison live after discussing the AG's response to questions about this yesterday, denying knowledge of those complaints. Ariel.
Well, Mark, Heidi, General Reyes told 2 News he wasn't aware of the complaints into his office regarding Tim Ballard, but the legal team defending clients who have filed suits against Ballard say otherwise.
We know about the Davis County investigation, and my understanding is that came in through the Attorney General's office.
The legal team that's now filed 2 lawsuits against Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad says the Attorney General's office had to know about complaints against Tim Ballard, something the AG denied in a press conference yesterday.
We're not aware of any complaints that our office received, and we'll answer a number of questions. I think our office is going to issue a statement to try to address other questions.
While AG Reyes is not named as a defendant in the first case, he is mentioned.
I think someone should investigate the Attorney General's office for fraud. What complaints came in when the Attorney General is out leading the charge for a nonprofit, it makes the public think, boy, that's a safe organization I can donate to. Right now, his involvement is only interesting to us to the extent that we need to represent our clients. And one of the issues is, how could this happen?
The attorneys claim General Reyes propped up Tim Ballard and made him the world's leading expert on child trafficking. Additionally, today the Ballard family and Spear Foundation issued a statement saying they deny any of the allegations. We asked for the legal team's response.
I think we'll allow the court process to proceed. We believe in the court system. We believe that the discovery process, the adversarial process in the courts bring truth to light.
Now, the Attorney General's office promised a statement relating to the court filing that mentions his office, I should say. The office issued a statement today, which we got on our hands in just the past hour. That statement says, in part, the Utah Attorney General's office strongly disputes the characterization in the complaint that consumer complaints and criminal investigations were pouring into the AG's office regarding the improprieties of Operation Underground Railroad and Ballard, end quote. We'll, of course, include Reyes' office's full statement on KUTV.com for you to read there. Reporting live in the newsroom, Ariel Harrison, KUTV 2 News.
I don't know. Maybe it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Now, of course, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Please let me know your thoughts, and I will see you again soon. See ya.